Magnus Carlsen is the winner of Fide World Blitz Championship 2025 after beating Nodirbek Abdusattorov. This is the game. Abdusattorov start with e4. After that, e5, knight f3 to attack the pawn, knight c6 to defend. After that, Abdusattorov opts to play bishop b5, the Ruy Lopez opening. Magnus attacked the bishop. The bishop retreat after knight f6, d3, then b5. Now the bishop must retreat to b3 and bishop e7, preparing to castle kingside. In this position, Nodirbek Abdusattorov pushes a4, so Magnus moved the rook to b8, pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn. After that, like c3. Then Carlsen castling kingside, and Abdusattorov do the same. Now, Magnus wants to activate his bishop, so he pushes d6. The bishop will go to g4, but Abdusattorov play h3, a prophylactic move. Now, the bishop can go to g4. In this position, Magnus Carlsen pushes e6, defending g5, so white bishop or white knight cannot occupy g5. The game continue. Bishop e3, rook e8, knight e2, bishop f8, and knight g3. Both players develop their pieces to the best square. In this position, Magnus Carlsen offers to trade the bishop, and Abdusattorov accepts it. After that, rook takes the bishop. The game continues with c3, Nodirbek preparing to push d4. Magnus Carlsen pushes d5, attacking the center, and queen c2. After that, b4, then rook to d1. Magnus Carlsen moves the queen to c8, and after that, queen a4. In this position, Magnus Carlsen trade the pawn takes. After that, knight e7, preparing to g6. Abdusattorov put his queen to a7, knight g6, and rook d to b1 offers to trade. Rook takes, preparing to attack the queen. In this position, Magnus play counterattack. He takes the pawn on the center, and pawn takes pawn. After that, rook attack the pawn. Now, Abdusattorov put his rook to b8, so the queen to e6, and queen a8. Nodirbek Abdusattorov lets Carlsen to take his pawn, and of course, Carlsen takes it. After that, Abdusattorov put his knight to f5, preparing to remove the knight that protect the bishop. So, Magnus Carlsen play counterattack. Knight d7, attacking the rook, so rook attacking the queen, but Carlsen offers to trade the queen, and Abdusattorov accept it. Queen takes queen, rook takes queen, and after that, h4, preparing to attack. But rook to e8 offer to press the rook. This is a dangerous position. Magnus Carlsen has a passed pawn, so Abdusattorov denied. He put his rook to c8 to attack the pawn. And then Magnus Carlsen play knight f6, attacking e pawn, and let Abdusattorov to take pawn on c7. But Abdusattorov opts to play knight d2 to defend his pawn. In this position, knight to e7, attacking the rook, and offers to trade the knight. Nodirbek Abdusattorov takes the pawn on c7 and Carlsen exchange the knight. Pawn takes on f5. After that, rook retreat to e8. In this position, Abdusattorov put his rook to c6 and Carlsen pushes h5, bishop g5 and knight d5. After that, knight e4 and f6. Now the bishop must retreat, and Abdusattorov put his bishop to d2. The game continues, Carlsen attacking the pawn and the rook. Now the pawn cannot be safe. Abdusattorov put his rook to a6 and knight take the pawn, attacking another pawn, so g3 to defend. Now Magnus Carlsen has win a pawn, and we know that Carlsen is a very good player in the ending game. In this position, Carlsen activates his king to f7. Abdusattorov replies with king g2, king g7, rook a4, rook c8, and rook to a2. This is a mistake. In this position, Magnus put his knight to d4, preparing to exchange the rook and attacking the knight. But bishop e3 to attack the knight. So knight f5 attacking the bishop again. Abdusattorov put his bishop to b6. And then Carlsen offers to trade the knight. Abdusattorov accepted. Knight takes, bishop takes knight. After that, the bishop to e3. In this position, Carlsen activates the king again, and Abdusattorov attack the pawn. But g6, and everything is fine for black. In this position, Abdusattorov put his rook back to a2, and rook c4 is played. After rook attack the bishop counter-attack the rook to a2, and then bishop c3, preparing to trade the bishop. Abdusattorov pinned the bishop, but king to a4. So the rook back to a2, and then Carlsen attacking the bishop, but the bishop to h6. Now king to d3, preparing to put the rook on c2. And now Abdusattorov attacked the king, but the rook blocked it, and Abdusattorov exchanged the rook. King take the rook, and bishop attack pawn, but e4. Magnus Carlsen is a very dangerous man in this position. Abdusattorov put his king to f1 to defend e2, but king d3. After bishop to h6, Magnus Carlsen plays a mysterious bishop move, bishop to e5, waiting for mistake, and Abdusattorov make that mistake. He play bishop c1. Now black in a winning position. And of course, Magnus Carlsen find the best move for black, e3. Now Abdusattorov take the pawn, but after that Carlsen sacrificed his bishop. If pawn takes bishop, king takes the bishop. King to g2, then f5. Black is winning. Therefore, Abdusattorov play bishop g5, but after this move, he resigned because pawn takes the bishop. If the game continue and pawn take on g3, then pawn take on h5. After pawn takes, king e3, king g2, king a4. After king h3, king f3, king h2, and king to g4. And black totally in a winning position.